Well, it certainly has been a very interesting end of financial year, and I want to give you a briefing on what I'm noticing in the board director search market and also just some general issues we're seeing in the executive search market that I think are going to have a very big bearing on how things are going to play out in the next quarter. First and foremost, we are definitely seeing a lot of companies getting ready for very substantial corporate restructurings. Literally, in the last few weeks, every second phone call from a client of mine is about a redundancy, and these are very senior executives. And I think we're starting to see the impact of AI. Corporations looking at their systems, their processes, their people. We also have a number of major mergers, acquisitions underway, and of course, inevitably, that can result in people losing their positions. So there is a lot going on in the corporate sector, and we are seeing a lot of people out of the market for longer than usual. And that's having a really big impact on the economy. And, obviously for executives, you have to be really careful how you're going to approach things. From a board director perspective, we were hoping we would see a number of roles come into the market, and we did, in fact, see a lot of volume of roles, but the vast majority of those roles were unpaid, not commercially viable for a lot of our clients who are really moving towards paid commercial board seats. We did an audit of all of the board, seats available in the market, all the roles that are being advertised officially on the official channels. 95% of them were unpaid volunteer positions. Now, that whole sector is going to face major challenges, particularly the not-for-profit sector, because a lot of clients now, a lot of board director candidates are walking away from the unpaid work. The risks, the time commitment, the effort involved. There's a time and a place for volunteerism, but I think this whole market has really tipped over the edge. And we were contacted by quite a substantial healthcare provider. They provide services to aged care facilities in the market. And, they were expecting board directors, even though they were being, compensated extremely well in the mix, they were expecting board directors to turn up on various aged care facilities that they're managing and taking a management fee for, and expecting board directors independent to serve on these boards and be unpaid and do it volunteer, as if it's some sort of a great thing for these board directors to gain this experience. So I think there's a real recalibration, a shake-up coming in the market, particularly, the unpaid versus the paid roles. It does mean that, if you want to secure board roles, it all comes down to networks. Who do you know? Connecting in with the right people. Now, the market is still buoyant, and when markets turn and you have very difficult economic circumstances and you have corporate restructures going on and, the economy's in the doldrums, that doesn't really impact the board search market because there's always an opportunity for board directors to step up. And of course, you have retirement, you have, the normal sort of attrition that happens in board director settings. And of course, a lot of companies now, particularly in the private sector, private equity, venture capital backed vehicles, always looking for the best of the best in terms of talent. Now, the PE in the VC market is doing incredibly well. So there's been a lot of transactions in the last quarter, a lot of transactions coming through in the next quarter. I follow reports from the AIC, the Australian Investment Council, and other various sources. We are seeing a lot of opportunity there, so that's potentially a great place for board directors to be playing, and we've seen a massive surge in these advisory board appointments and so on. Governments around the country are refreshing their board of directors, so we see a lot of really good quality board director vacancies, and so it's important to be registered in the right areas so that you can be contacted about the right roles, and of course talking to the right board search consultants that have those direct relationships with government panels and the like. So I think it's going to be a very interesting quarter ahead. A lot of volatility still to happen, I think, on a global stage, and it's going to impact At the same time, we've got a lot of, front page news around things that would certainly be keeping board directors awake at night. The childcare sexual issue that has, come to pass this week in the press, absolutely tragic, but a huge warning and a huge wake up call for board directors serving on boards in terms of governance, looking at the right sort of risk management approaches in particularly high vulnerable settings. So a lot of big questions to be asked, and I have no doubt eventually we'll probably see some form of a commission investigation into the childcare sector. So some major issues there. And to be honest, for many years, I've always advised clients to avoid board director seats in that sector for the exact reason that it really concerned me about, the risks. And we know, every day there's, reported issues in that sector. So a lot of sleepless nights ahead, obviously for the parents involved, but more importantly for the broader board director community serving in those very vulnerable, high risk settings. We also now have, again, front page news, Qantas. They don't seem to be able to recover from all of their past scandals and issues. One of the biggest data breaches you can imagine, and of course I'm affected. I've got to go and, have a look at, how I'm going to protect all my personal data once again, another problem. So yeah, it's a big challenge, and again, boards I think asleep at the wheel on cyber matters. We know that for a fact behind the scenes. So a lot of things for board directors to be considering as we go forward. So an interesting time in business, certainly challenging. I think a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, the insolvencies are certainly very high at the moment. A lot of businesses doing it extremely tough. A lot of corporate restructuring coming through. So certainly over this next quarter, I think we're going to see some very interesting trends and issues as we go forward.